I want us to focus for a few minutes on the 6% of American college student populations across this country, and especially 3 young men that were working on their master's degrees on this campus, and one of them getting a doctorate at Ball State. While working on those advanced degrees, these men had been and were caring for their communities, like the topic of our symposium this year. Those communities, to begin with, were Blytheville, Marianna, Marion, and Wynne. Now, in the course of discussing it with them or with others, you would hear these men being referred to as pioneers in their school districts, the glue that held the newly integrated schools together, trailblazers, other terms like that. While they were also concerned with their own self-improvement. So, when they make the decision to come to Jonesboro and to A-State, that caring for communities came with them. At Arkansas State, the statistic as far as the student population was concerned was probably closer to 3 to 4% of black student body. But thanks in no small measure to the early initiatives of men like Walter Strong, Fred Turner Jr., and Larry Williams, there had been black students on this campus since 1955. By 1967, they were even allowed to secure campus housing. Then in 1969, the school's Black Student Association began to lobby for attention, for recognition, and a stronger voice in campus activities. A group of some 50 students presented A-State President Carl Ring with 14 demands and 6 grievances. Demand number 7 was for ASU to hire an African American instructor, and that instructor was to teach African American history courses. Well, this demand was satisfied in the fall of 1970 when a master's degree student, not even graduated yet, was approached to be the first African American tenure track professor or instructor on the A-State campus. That person was C. Calvin Smith, originally from Bricky's, Arkansas, graduate of Marianna, and told by some of his high school teachers he would never amount to anything. Well, that was the fall of 1970, and in due course, over the next 3 years, 3 other men joined that faculty: Herman Strickland, Wilbert Gaines, and Dr. Mossy Richmond, bringing with them their wives and children to the campus. And the 8 individuals in the circle had earned some 22 degrees amongst themselves, those 8 individuals. Well, those 4 men, they considered themselves regular members of what they called the circle.
I'm Herman Strickland, and I was the second black faculty to come to ASU. I followed the late Dr. Calvin Smith. And if you get the book, and I won't tell you a lot about the book, you'll read that Calvin had quite a few problems being the first African American instructor here. Well, I didn't have nearly as many problems as Calvin had. And as you read the book, you'll find that Calvin tells a story about going to the bank to cash his check. And when he got to the bank, Citizens Bank, then now Bank of America, they didn't want to cash his check because a black person shouldn't have a check from ASU as an instructor. So he said they figured he had stolen a check. Well, they worked all that out. When we came to ASU a year and a half later, the bank invited us to a dinner so that everybody would know we get checks from ASU. And Calvin talks about phone calls that he got harassing him about living in the circle. And the other thing about the circle, the people who know about the academic circles, East and West College Circle, and we called ourselves the circle. It was a coincidence, not because we were a close-knit group of family. But the circle was restricted to people with terminal degrees. Anybody who lived in the circle had to have a doctorate degree, and you could live in the circle 3 years. When we started, I heard about Mr. Carville coming to ASU. He didn't have a doctorate degree. But when I came to ASU, only 50% of the people here had doctorate degree. The other 50% had master's degrees or above. So I fell in that lower 50%. Calvin did too. I heard Mr. Hartnett say that Calvin came as an instructor. Calvin got his job finishing up his master's degree, but with a promise that he'd go on and get his doctorate degree. But when they moved Calvin into campus housing, there was a lot of resentment from the faculty there, and the faculty probably on campus who had not had an opportunity to live in those houses. That Calvin was moving in, he was African American, and he didn't have a doctorate degree. So he had some harassment about that. Well, when I came 2 years later, Calvin had already done that, so I was just another black family moving in the neighborhood.
Well, when I came, I was recruited to Arkansas State University. I've only had 2 professional jobs, and I never applied for either one. When I finished college at Fernandez Middle College, I was drafted to play professional football with the St. Louis Football Cardinals. Well, they wrote me a letter, the Cardinals wrote me a letter and told me they had filled their quota. I didn't understand what quota meant. It meant that they could only have X number of black players on their football team. So I decided to go to Marion. The principal from Marion invited me to come to Marion, and I was going to Marion to teach physical education and be the head basketball coach. At Marion, I planned to go and stay 1 year because the Boston Patriots, before they moved to New England, had invited me to come to their camp the next year. Well, I went to Marion to stay 1 year. That second year, a young lady, 19 years old, from AM&N College, too young to get a teacher's license. She was substitute teaching at Marion. My wife, Herschel Gaines. I forgot about football. I forgot about everything. I've got to have that woman. We married, and come September 23rd, we will have been married 55 years. I tell you that because we came to ASU and we stayed. I was on the faculty at ASU for 33 years in the physical education department. I was in charge of the BSc program and the coaching endorsement. The contribution that I made to ASU, number one, you have to understand that diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is making sure that you enjoy yourself while you're at that department. My chairman, Dr. Jim DeVazier, was inclusion. He included me. He protected me. In those days, we would go out to conventions, and 4 of us would stay in a room, and Dr. DeVazier would say, "Wilbert, that's our baby. We slept together." I don't mean we slept together. We didn't sleep. We shared the same bed. He would have the line of demarcation. He stayed on his side of the bed, and I stayed on my side. But I just want to make that clear. But diversity and it's fine, but inclusion. Arkansas State University, I can say this. Arkansas State University, to me, with regard to inclusion and diversity, is a beacon of light to which other institutions should come for divine wisdom and insight. Because every time Arkansas State University had a chance for inclusion, it took it to another level. So I applaud Arkansas State University for everything that they've done with regard to inclusion.